The whistleblower reported being intimidated, including by having a note taped to his door with his personal information and a picture of him walking his dog taken overhead by a drone.
Last Week in Southern Labor is a segment that we do every week where we take a look at what workers were up to in the southern United States. These sorts of things don't make the news a lot, but there is always a lot happening. Workers are always filing for union elections. Workers are winning union elections. Workers are winning contracts, striking, rallying, all sorts of stuff, and so we want to highlight that wherever we can. Here's what they were up to from the 11th to the 18th of April. In new union campaigns, workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW Local 429, as the union representing 39 workers at Casey Fork Electric Cooperative in McMinnville, Tennessee. 10 workers at Stanley Access Technologies in Louisville, Kentucky filed a petition to hold a union election with IBEW Local 369. 19 workers at Prestige Painting Worldwide in Lee Summit, Missouri filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, Local 2012. 22 workers at SBM Management Services in Stanton, Tennessee filed a petition to hold a union election with the Laborers International Union of North America, LIUNA, Local 386. 185 workers at United Natural Foods Incorporated in Pompano Beach, Florida filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 769. 21 workers at Best Virginia Heating and Cooling in Hurricane, West Virginia filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Association of Plumbers and Steam Fitters, UA Local 625. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the United Steelworkers, USW Local 13-1, as the union representing 14 workers at Centerpoint Energy Resources Corporation in Texas City, Texas. That is an awesome name for a town. 66 workers at the Washington Post in Washington, D.C. filed a petition to hold a union election with the News Guild, CWA. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the International Union of Operating Engineers, IUOE Local 465, as the union representing 27 workers at Duke Riley Hospital in Raleigh, North Carolina, and 14 workers at Appalachian Power in Roanoke, Virginia, filed a petition to hold a union election with IBEW Local 978. In election results, 16 workers at Starbucks in Purcell, Oklahoma, voted 7-7 in a union election with Starbucks Workers United, and ties go to the employer, but workers prevailed in another Oklahoma store with 18 workers voting 15-2 in favor of unionization. 29 workers at TECO People's Gas in Sarasota, Florida, voted 7-19 against unionization with IBEW Local 108. 6 workers at K and Associates in New Orleans, Louisiana, voted 6-0 in favor of unionization with IUE-CWA. 20 security guards at Paragon in Washington, D.C. voted in favor of unionization with the Security Police and Fire Professionals of America, SPFPA, by 2 votes to 1 vote for the, with 1 vote being for the National Capital Union for security officers. It was a 3-way election between 2 unions and no union. No votes for no union. 24 workers at Consolidated Waste Services in Trujillo Alto, Puerto Rico, voted 7-14 against unionization with the General Workers Center. In grievances, unfair labor practices, and court cases, a lawsuit has been brought by the Solidarity Center, the AFL-CIO's international arm, among others, challenging the termination of workers' rights programs funded by the International Labor Affairs Bureau. The AFL-CIO says the International Labor Affairs Bureau funded programs helped workers form independent unions in Mexico to enforce labor rights in the U.S. trade deals like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, and crack down on child labor in West Africa's coca sector, an industry that directly supplies U.S. chocolate manufacturers. Cutting these programs harms all working people by removing the essential tools that help stop the global race to the bottom in wages and standards. The AFL-CIO brought a lawsuit against the Trump administration for its dismantling of the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Services, FMCS. The AFL-CIO says that the FMCS is a small but important independent agency that is integral to the federal government's labor relations infrastructure. Among the critical services FMCS provides is helping resolve contract negotiations between workers and employers to protect both the economy and workers' rights, generating more than $500 million in national economic savings each year, even by conservative estimates.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
The Communication Workers of America's CWA Committee for Better Banks released a new report warning that Wells Fargo, where they represent workers at dozens of locations, is sliding back into its harmful sales practices that led to scandal in 2016. The United Mine Workers of America, UMWA, and the United Steelworkers, USW, are suing the Trump administration over their rolling back enforcement of the Department of Labor's new Silica rule. In strikes and bargaining updates, machinist union members at ULA tell me that the negotiating committee came to a tentative agreement with the company. We'll have more details on that next week. The contract will cover 600 workers in California, Alabama, and Florida. UE higher ed locals are calling on universities and unions to agree to a mutual academic defense compact to protect the independence of institutions and international students. Veterans Affairs Secretary Collins issued a memo allowing unions to continue collectively bargaining with the agency if their national union is not party to lawsuits against the Trump administration. The American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, which represents most VA employees, said the move was outrageous and cowardly. Teamster pilots at Allegiant Airlines have taken one step closer to striking. They sought release from arbitration from the National Mediations Board. Drivers at Shepherd's Distribution in Jefferson City, Missouri, unionized with the Teamsters, Local 833, ratified a new collective bargaining agreement containing a 10% wage increase over the life of the 3-year contract. Drivers for Wave Transit, the company that handles public transportation in Mobile, Alabama, who are unionized with the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU, Local 770, ratified a new agreement with the company. Details about the agreement are not public, but the union is less than enthused about the deal. Bus drivers for Transdev in Houston, Texas, who are unionized with Teamsters Local 988, ratified a new collective bargaining agreement with access to the Teamsters pension plus sick days for the first time ever. Workers for First Student, a bus company that services some schools in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who recently unionized with ATU Local 1546, voted to take a job action if management refuses to agree to a fair contract. The action could disrupt bus services for 10,000 students if the company doesn't come back to the table. The American Postal Workers Union, APWU, released an update on bargaining with the Postal Service, saying more or less that things are not going well. Nurses for the New Orleans University Medical Center, who are unionized with the National Nurses United, will hold a rally at a 10K sponsored by the hospital, protesting their stalling in negotiations. Kroger workers in Georgia and a couple of stores in East Alabama, unionized with the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW Local 1996, ratified new contracts with raises and protection of pensions. In political and legislative updates, U.S. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer had a busy week speaking at the Teamsters Unity Conference and going to Miami to speak with leadership of the Port and the Longshoremen's Union. No report on her opposing the rolling back of the Silica rule to protect America's coal miners. A new NPR report details how the Doge Bros stole sensitive data from the NLRB involving unions, cases, etc. that have nothing to do with processes or efficiency, tried to digitally cover their tracks, and shortly after the agency experienced login attempts from a Russian IP address. The whistleblower reported being intimidated as he tried to raise alarms within the agency, including by having a note taped to his door with his personal information and a picture of him walking his dog that had been taken overhead by a drone. Crazy. If we missed anything, let us know at tvlr.fm/contact. I will, obviously, and if you want to make sure that you're subscribed to the newsletter at tvlr.fm, because there's going to be a lot more in the newsletter. We never have time. We've had to shorten the segments of Last Week in Southern Labor to make room for our other content. So there's a lot of stuff that's included in the newsletters that are not included in the radio segment. So if you want the full exhaustive digest, tvlr.fm. And if you would like something included, let us know at tvlr.fm/contact.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.